We are live.
Back
Check
again.
that. Don't check.
And make sure you're in.
At these 5
make
a.m.
sure you're in
ones.
view too. Make sure you're in view too.
Yeah, at these 5 a.m. ones, you want to make sure that
Battery's good too.
battery's good, storage is good. These 5 a.m. ones, you'll want to make.
So we're back again with another Escaping Success podcast
I'm one of the hosts.
with your host AD Fakarede.
And Tom Upper.
And yeah, you guys are about to.
We're in motion this morning.
Y'all are in for a treat.
We're rocking and rolling.
Y'all are in for a little bit of a treat.
We're in motion.
So today we're going to be talking about the 80-20 rule.
Yep, it's called Pareto's Principle, and we're basically going to kind of talk about how, at least for myself, I've experienced that, like, doing less things but more strategic things brings 80% of the results. So Pareto's Principle basically states that, like, 20% of what you do can bring 80% of the results, and that this premise actually inspired by the book I'm reading right now. It's called The One Thing, and actually go even further. There's like evidence or like proof that 10% of things you do can lead to 90% of the results. I think it's just like a good viewpoint. I think even like I've seen with our conversation about simplifying things.
Yeah.
I mean, currently it seems like in your current pursuit with like health and fitness, weight loss journey, simplifying it, just making it something you can consistently do.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen in my life, is just like looking for ways just to simplify it, to make it sustainable instead of like trying to do too many things at one time. Especially when I realize like things that I want to do for a long time.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So like longevity, I think is key to simplify. It's like if you have, at least for example, like most people, it's easier to relate. Like, okay, to get the body you want and not just get it, but to maintain it, you have to do, fasted morning cardio, eat 6 meals a day, have no carbs or only have carbs in certain meals, live 5 days a week, take like crazy fat burners, Do you think you could do that for the next 10, 20 years? Or can you maybe kill yourself and do it for the next 30, 60, 90 days? And so I think
While another approach would be like eat like a king in the morning, eat like a farmer at lunch, and a peasant at night. Like literally, that's like your first meal of the day. You can not pig out, so to speak, but you can be a little bit more like luxurious or more generous with not your portion, but like with what you have. Like maybe you have your carb in the morning to give you energy throughout the day. Middle of the day, a lighter meal, and then your night meal is like your lightest meal, which actually makes sense too, because as you're going to bed, you want less stuff going on in your digestive system and more peace up here.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Yeah, you're right, but yeah, that makes the most sense.
Which is like crazy, like but it's so simple, but it's like.
But in practice now, that's even hard because for you, like you roll the reverse, like people are active during the morning day. Like if you get a big meal pie in the morning, you're not super one. Most people aren't super hungry in the morning.
Yeah.
You wake up, it make you tired and lethargic, and you can be like mentally sharp all day.
Literally.
So it's like maybe if you were a bodybuilder, and that was like your life.
Yeah.
So it's like even that, it sounds good.
Yeah.
But in like practice, even myself, like I actually know I need carbs at night because I'm wired up and it helps me sleep.
Wow.
For some people, carbs is opposite. Like if I'm like being totally honest with you, the way you're speaking, I would have the best, I guess, recovery, heart rate variability, all this stuff if I didn't have carbs at night. If I kind of
performance,
all that stuff. But like I would be, more stressed later on in the day because so I might sleep might suffer a little bit, or just like my overall stress level might be higher.
Yeah.
But the way you're saying though, like a lighter meal at night, like I have the best recovery and like it does show like, because I used to do like the bro science, like no carbs after 6.
Yeah.
Like I used to believe in that. Like I don't know, it was like bro science. I think there might be something to that, possibly.
It also depends on your body fat percentage as well, because you don't have any other source to tap energy from.
That's very important too. Like that.
Well, I do.
that's a big thing.
That's the big difference, like
because your insulin sensitivity changes on like your body fat composition.
Exactly.
It's like crazy. You don't understand it. Like the leaner you get, you're
gonna need
with
more
muscle. You tolerate carbs better. You don't necessarily need more carbs per se. You tolerate the carbs better. So you don't get the big spikes. Like you feel better. Like you actually sometimes. It's weird. Like once you get to a certain level of leanness, you actually can increase the carbs. But you can keep the fats like relatively like lower medium. But you can get leaner on like versus like, again, for me, if I was, you know, where I started this and I was eating like the amount of carbs I do now, I wouldn't be losing weight. I'd probably be gaining weight. Versus now, when I bump the carbs and keep the fats like medium to low, performance goes up, and sometimes I even get leaner.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
And that's literally the 10% rule, like, or 20% rule right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even as it relates to sales, they say that 20% of the salespeople make 80% of the revenue for the company, because there's very few people who are willing to actually actuate what they're capable of doing in terms of like making calls, doing outreach, and like having good client meetings. And 80% of the people like are not doing that. They're complaining and doing whatever. But those 20%, or like you said, 10%, are actually driving 90 to 80% of the whole company's revenue, which is crazy to think about.
And that's why even in the grand scheme of things, like I seen like my short stint in my like corporate environment, like just realizing that same thing, like
your effort. You were doing the job of like 5, 6, 10 people.
Yeah, and I realized that when I actually was like leaving there and I was giving my positions away to other people, I was like, what do you do? And like I shadowed somebody, and I'm like maybe and they did nothing the rest of the day. I was like,
They did maybe like an hour of work.
Yeah.
If that.
And then the rest they did nothing, and we're okay with that.
And that was during the busy season, right?
Yeah.
So imagine when there was nothing going on.
And like that's, I was like blown.
You wonder why someone gets laid off. It's like, well, maybe because, I hate to say that, that's kind of savage, but
like trim the fat. Yeah.
Like a lot of the jobs that get laid off, like, is one needs to really take an honest look at themselves. Like, how much production am I giving to this company? Like, it's crazy to say that. Yes, you're coming in every day. Yes, you're sacrificing time.
You're showing up.
But in terms of efficacy, because you're now looking at it through the veil of a business owner, you see what drives revenue, what keeps the doors open. Just because you're showing up every day, even if it's early and leaving late, but you're not driving any productivity, you know, that's not what you're being paid for, not showing up.
But crazy enough though, like just actually probably like I realized in my life, just like if you show up, especially if you're early and late, you're already at 80%.
Yeah. But people are crazy enough that they show up early and late and not get anything done either,
100%.
which is wild. I remember some people in my old office, they'd be there early and leave late, but they did nothing throughout the day. They were just eating. They're spending time away from their family. Like,
they weren't strategic.
They weren't happy with their life at home. They're just like their apartment.
Yeah, because I think even now, like in your stage of life, like I see from my outside perspective, like you're very strategic with your time because you got, you know, you're working, you got 2 kids, you got a wife, relationships and friendships, and then also now on this fitness journey. So I feel like when you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's good. Like when you're there, you're there. I think that's something that I say from outside perspective is the power of presence with you. And so like when you're like, okay, when you're at work, you're at work. When you're home, you're home. 100%. When you're, you know, like training, you're training. So I think you have really good like on-off switch with that, and that's something that I'm trying to work better on. Is like flex that muscle. Of like on-off, and it's like still like it's hard for me. Like not that it's hard, but I've done a better job because I've been more conscientious of it. But the difference that I still struggle with, like I don't know if this will ever go away, but like I definitely feel like I think it will get better / go away eventually, is I can never be fully off, if that makes sense, because from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., like anything could happen. You know, like it's just Murphy's Law, anything that can happen will happen. You just have like so many moving parts every day. And like, case in point, yesterday I got a call at like 9 a.m., lifeguard didn't show up, and like the kid's not answering. It's like sit on guard pool, first day of like, we do like a special like camp for like this place. And the guard's not showing up. It's not like him too. He's worked for us like 2 years. Just very weird. I confirmed with him like a couple days prior. He said, "Yeah, I'll be there, no problem." And I had to go lifeguard. You know.
So what happened to him?
He just got another job and didn't tell us. Wow. And he was in an internship with the job, and he couldn't answer his phone.
Wow.
So I ended up going there and like for me it's like I don't care lifeguard, like that doesn't bother me. It's just like that, and
that blew up the whole day.
It blew up the whole day, and like things come in waves. That's why I realized, like, because me and my dad was joking about that, like things come in waves. Cause like that happened, then a pool turned green, then a baby pool like multi-port broke and it was like drained out. So it's like boom, boom, boom. All these 3 things happen within like a 15-minute thing, and like that's how it comes. So like I'm like rushing to get there. I'm also trying to remedy the other two situations. Like it's just like versus like say if like I like made a conscious effort to be like, okay, I'm gonna be off on Monday. I'm gonna enjoy the day, you know, like whatever, and like try to be present. And then that happens, you know. So it's like, okay, I need somebody like me to handle that.
Yeah.
Like that's where I realized like then I can fully turn that off, if that makes sense. It's a weird thing. It's like between 8 and 8, like even if I'm like doing stuff and I'm blessed that like I do have the flexibility in my schedule, I'm like 80 or 90% there, but like 10% is like
just in case, yeah.
It's like a little voice is like, be ready.
Make it happen, yeah.
Be ready.
Which is crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting, you know. I think it'd be interesting to kind of, do you log like the problems that you encounter, the obstacles you encounter throughout the pool season?
Yeah.
Like you have like an actual like notebook. Like I think this would be a good exercise.
I do not, so I'm
it would
very
be a
good.
good exercise if you just had a notebook and it's like
Like
challenges.
daily,
Challenges face this pool season. Obstacles face this pool season. So you're gonna have to go back a little bit. Like whether it be the person drowning, anything, just write it all out.
The HR is
So that in the off season you can actually think of holistic solutions that would have avoided that. So at the very least, you don't encounter these same issues again. So for example, this kid who fell off, you caught up with him a few days earlier, which is fair. You think.
I should have checked them the night before.
But for an event like that, maybe it makes sense to have 2 lifeguards so that God forbid if someone gets sick or something, there's always someone covering. Like you know what I mean? But again, it would be interesting to write out all the obstacles you encountered, not to try to fix them now, but through the off season that you have things to kind of to mediate them. Because like for you, for example, you are locked in, and like you said, you never really necessarily turn it off. What that does is that there's a part of your self-will that you're using to keep engaged in work, and because of that, you're like the problems are so near to your face, so you don't have the panoramic perspective. It's so myopic. So you end up making decisions kind of like it with such a myopic view. So like you're locked in, which is good because you're gonna address that issue. But the issue is that it further instills this a characteristic that you're not really trying to continue with, which is by not being fully present. So I think a good way to do that again is to log all the problems you have. So in your off season, you can come up with holistic solutions for all of them. And the simpler your solution, the better. Like, wow, of these 20, 30, there's 30 things that happened this season. There's one solution that actually takes care of 20 of them. Like, you know what I mean? So come up with 3 solutions basically for everything that at least would cover all those things. And it's not an exercise to overthink and come up with different scenarios. Just deal with the practical ones. Because even though you might not experience that same exact situation, something like that will happen next season, and that solution would take care of it. And then maybe that's what you need to relax.
And you're hitting on such a great point. Like that's something I talked to my therapist yesterday. It's like I feel like this Costa Rica was like a very pivotal moment in my life, like where I got almost like a reset or like a reboot of like, okay, what really matters. Worked through some stuff. Was extremely present. Good with had a great experience. It was good, like really good with me. Like just happy with myself. Super present, enjoying life, enjoying people. Really like fostering human connection, all that stuff. And then somewhere along the line, actually I remember the day, like it was like May, I think like the first or second week of May, a switch flipped. And like I feel like not that I'm like I'm dimming, but like it's almost like my light / like fully presence has been dimming slightly ever since then. Because up until like the first second week of May, like I was able just to like tap out and be like step back, be like, hey, this doesn't really matter.
But now you're finding it harder and harder to do.
It's just dimming more and more and more, and like that's something like I'm like talking with my therapist, like I feel it, like I'm aware of it, because like my creative mind has kind of been shut off.
Yeah.
It's like, again, I had a great experience, helped reset me, and my creative mind was like firing, like all these things. I was excited for this, Apollo Fuel, the podcast, pulls, yes, maybe not super excited, but like, new fresh outlook on it. And then since that day, everything's kind of just been another task.
Of course.
Versus like a creative, I'm excited, it's new, learning, growing, all this. It's kind of just been like more of like a checklist type of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't like that energy. Kind of like, because like, especially like, with this, like with the business, like the jerky business, all that stuff, like I was just doing it because it'd be cool, like, eventually now it's just like stuff that has to get done. It's just like, okay, check it off the box. So, like I'm just like, okay, back of my mind, like, okay, got another thing to do. And it's just like I feel that just like kind of just the creative energy, like you're saying, like I'm always seeing here versus like the whole screen because like I'm unconsciously and like you pointed out, but like I feel it, and like you kind of just like described it as like I'm not fully able to use all my brain bandwidth. Is like
you can.
I'm always like waiting for something to happen.
Because you're exercise, like each person only has a certain amount of self-will, whether you like it or not. You have a finite amount of self-will, and if you break past that self-will, what ends up happening are two things: either you break down, or you go to hedonistic pleasures. Very simple. So like. Now, the interesting that happens is if you exercise your self-will on something over an extended period of time, you don't need self-will for it. Case in point is eating. So like once you eat healthy for like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, it doesn't become a chore anymore to eat clean. Like it's just part of right? But the thing is, with this big change that you're trying to make, it goes against anxiety, worrying, and like overthinking. So like anxiety, worry, and overthinking, exercising your self-will on all three of those things are very difficult in light of like being busy. So like that's why it all goes back to like before the year started or your busy season started. I talked about like you have to carve out time for yourself. So I would even argue that the 80-20 rule in your case right now, what you should focus on, or 10% rule, like you said, because that's probably would be more realistic for you. In your waking hours, 10% of that time should be carved out for yourself. Meaning you actually schedule a time during the day where it doesn't even matter if anything happens, like you're unplugged, like in the middle of the day. And that exercise, maybe that could be what leads you to having a discovery like, oh snap, like part of the reason I'm detaching is because I didn't have time for myself. Because the time just got narrow and narrow and narrow. It's like 1 hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 15, 10, 5, non-existent anymore. Because you're finding, even at your times that were carved out for yourself or you normally would spend with yourself, you're using it, filling with other things. And yes, that tends to happen when you have people in your life because like there's so many moving parts. But like I think it all boils back to you being like, all right, like this is my time. Like every day, it can even be scheduled every day. Like, all right, I'm gonna do my thing at 4 p.m. today, 4 to 5. I'm not gonna do anything. But that's the thing. You can look at your calendar and every day know when you can put in your time, and don't fill that in. You have to be honest with yourself. Like, all right, this hour, I'm gonna go to the sauna for 10, 15 minutes. After the 10, 15 minutes, I'm gonna go on a walk, or I'm just gonna sit at the park and do nothing. And I'm gonna turn off my phone. Like that's so important. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna end up in the same solution over and over. Because that's what I'm doing. Because you mentioned like I'm good at compartmentalizing. Well, I don't. I literally don't. I don't. What's it called? I don't compromise with my personal time at all. Like I literally go. Like yesterday, I made up my mind I'm leaving work at 2:30, and I didn't care. So I ended up leaving at 2:23 because there's another client that they wanted me to speak with. And I was like, listen, I already told you guys in the morning I'm leaving at 2:30. So like that was like uncompromised. Like I did not care how big that opportunity was. He was exactly the person I want to talk to, but I don't care because I already told myself that 2:30 I'm gonna leave. And listen, if that's meant to be, I can still call him tomorrow. I'm not gonna, even if he doesn't ever want to talk to me again, I will be fully fine. Like he could have scored my goal for the whole year, but I'd rather still have 10 people to talk to and have my time yesterday than not to. Because it's like once I do that to yesterday, now it becomes okay the next time to do it. And the next time to do it. It's the same thing as about the habits we're trying to build. Like if you let the box of pizza slide, like yes, you can come back on the rail the next day, but the next time you're like, okay, I'm not gonna take a box, maybe I take a slice. but like you still put yourself in a position where you compromise like your your values. And I think it's something like this where your predisposition, like with the worry, anxiety, and overthinking, you definitely don't want to put yourself in situations whereas you don't give yourself time to be reflective or like to be at peace, to like still your mind. Because when your mind's going all over the place, you're just gonna regress to what's it called? You're gonna regress to learn natures from your father, right? And you're gonna regress to past coping mechanisms. You're setting yourself up to fail. Like if you don't have that be still and be present every day, like and then as you do it, you'll figure out when you need it and when you don't, and you'll get better. But now it's like you're exhausting so much self-will and trying to do everything at once. But you kind of have to let some things go to like really hone in on this stuff.
And like I do allow like between like 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. is like my time.
Of course, yeah.
It's only those 2 hours in the morning, and like that's like kind of like my reset.
And you've been doing that since May.
I've been doing. It's been compromised because of just like things like some
Podcast.
podcasts. Like some days would work like I get into like 11 or 12, so I would sleep like 7 or 8. So it's been compromised, but I would say like at least 4 or 5 days a week consistently since May. That's been the case. The biggest thing.
But that's not working.
Yeah, it's not working enough.
It's not enough.
No,
because that even further like expatiates the point. It's like, well, dude, I've been doing this 4 or 5 times a day, 4 times a week.
It's helped, but
it's not working. It's not enough.
It's not enough. It's at the minimum, but it's not enough because
it's not
still. It's just I realize like I can't. Not that I can't, but the 8 to 8, 7 days a week. It's not.
It's not conducive.
It's not conducive, and like I need to find somebody who can handle, or at least get in a position like next year. Well, I bring someone on, and they could, I'm gonna have to do it initially, but hopefully by halfway or 3/4 down the season, be like, okay, you got these 3 days. Yeah. Just have somebody who's competent enough, knows the system, and like and that's like. It's just like a new thing, but I gotta bring like an A-level type person.
Yeah.
Like it can't be some like, because the
person can't be relaxed. The person has to be on it because that's gonna give you peace of mind.
They gotta be like
on it, and then also non-verbal to you on the days that you need to relax.
And like we got this. Like and that's gonna be like paying some serious money for that type of play. But that's something that I think if I were, and also it's the thing. It's like. Not only is it for my peace of mind, but it's to grow the business. Like, I know if I have like an A-level player with me who's competent enough to handle it, it's like, okay, if he could work 3 or 4 days a week, or even a whole week, or if I bring 2 A-level guys, they can do everything. Yeah. I could do what I'm good at is I can go in front of people, I could sell the crap out of this business. Yeah. I'm not doing that right now.
Expand it.
Everything is just referral, and I'm turning down most of it because like I don't have the bandwidth
capacity. Yeah.
But if I had two A-level people that could run this, it's
the
like
business would grow exponentially.
It'd be crazy because I'm actually going out there and like trying to sell myself. We do no sales. Yeah. Zero.
I know.
Negative sales.
Actually. I mean, it's not possible with the bandwidth right now.
No, it's just like, And this year, we have the least amount of pools we've had in probably 5 years. Wow. But our level of services,
I believe it,
is the best it's been.
I know.
And so, like, it just makes sense.
But the goal is to get this business self-operating, and then once it's self-operating, it starts to self-selling. And currently how it's being run, it's not in line with what your goal is.
I'm just hot. It's a great thing I heard is like, are you just do you have a business, or you just have are you just self-employed with a high-paying job?
Yeah.
And that's literally the case. Is like I don't have a business. I'm just self-employed with this business. Like there's no way if I just said like, hey,
you stepped away,
peace,
that it would be alive in 24 months.
No, it would be alive in 2 months.
Yeah,
it won't be alive in a week.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's just like that's a problem.
Yeah.
And like I'm realizing I'm awakened to that problem, like really fully. And I think the hardest thing is like just getting my my father on board with that problem.
Yeah.
Because he sees the problem.
He does it.
He's like, this is better. This is the best it's been in ever. He's like, what's up? I don't see the problem. I'm like, this is not a business still though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a business, but it's not really a business.
Exactly.
Because like, if we go sell this hypothetical, we have to sell
Who's
it.
gonna want to buy it?
Who's going to buy it?
Yeah.
Like, we have to stay on for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like so I think that's something that, like, again, this year I'm getting closer and closer to,
Of
like,
course.
I'm doing the least amount of actual work
Yeah.
in the business, like
Yeah.
day-to-day work,
Yeah.
than I have.
Yeah. But
since-
you realize there's still many room for improvement.
And I think it's never gonna stop, but like I see how far it's come.
Yeah.
Just like with hiring, like again, I hired this. He's super competent
The HR.
HR guy. Like he game changer. Because I had somebody again, like just didn't work out, but this HR guy, he just like does it.
Did you ever ask him for any referrals if he knows anybody who's competent and like
Well, he has a full-time job.
somewhere else?
Yeah, he's a full-time corporate job.
I know, but I'm saying that like, does he know anyone else?
I could ask him.
Why he has a full-time corporate job?
Yes.
Doing what?
He does like underwriting for like not underwriting, but like for prescription like
That's
companies. Like he like does
crazy, dude.
like contract
He has
negotiations
a
and stuff.
full-time job. Dude.
Full-time job, and not only 40 hours a week, he probably works like 50 or 60-hour weeks with this full-time job, and he does HR better than, it's just. But that's the thing, I realize that people, like, if you want to get something done, you have to be a busy person.
He's absolutely crushing.
He's a savage. But the good thing is, like, he's on a computer already. He works remote, so if something happens, he could email right away. So he's tapped in, and like the feedback from like my managers, like he's on top of it. He's great. Like he does a great job,
Savage.
and he kills it.
He should, but ask him if he knows anyone who's
Yeah.
like him, that's like diligent, and that someone who he can vouch for.
But I would have to. The thing is, like for what I'm looking for, I have to poach them. Like they couldn't have a full-time job for what I'm looking for.
But what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
so what? Like,
Yeah.
ask him. Like, do what big companies are already doing. Like, don't overthink it.
Yeah, I got poached.
Yeah, right. It's like, bro, there could be someone who's miserable in what they're doing, right? What's wrong with poaching them? Who cares?
Yeah, no, you're right.
None of their business. Like, for someone to be poached, that means they want the opportunity you're offering. It's like, you always wanted to be a business owner. Hey, man, there's an opportunity right here for you to try first.
Want to be kind of off for 2 or 3 months a year?
Yeah, literally. I mean, you're selling, like, it's not a tough sell, so poach.
You're at a computer a lot, but you gotta be outside, it's flexible.
Yeah. Poach, why not? And dude, this guy, you already vouched for him, so it's like,
He's a rock star.
it's like, all right, he has friends that have similar mentalities because he probably hangs around people or knows someone else who has that also thing because he likes that.
Yeah,
That's
well,
it.
he's my friend, so like I know I've met his friends and he's like an outlier.
He's different.
Yeah. But I haven't met his work friends.
Yeah.
So I met his personal friends and he's just an outlier, just like with big work ethic, all that stuff. But I could ask if he was like
Or maybe he knew someone from the past.
yeah,
or
like
something.
business friends. Yeah.
You never know.
But yeah, like that just seemed like I hired like an A-level person, like he's a great
Out of luck.
corporate job, and it was
It's been
crazy.
huge for you.
It's been literally changed everything because I wouldn't be able to have the relationships I have now,
Without.
like friendships, intimate relationships, without him.
Yeah.
Because that would be probably 2 or 3 hours a week on average. Now compound that, like it's like 20 hours more per week at least
Yeah.
dealing with HR stuff.
So now imagine if you had another person or 2 more people.
2 more people.
Yeah.
That'd be Goldilocks.
Yes.
And that's where I could be like, okay, I'm gonna go be the business owner now. And that's the next stage.
And you will, man.
Yeah.
Ask that dude. Ask him. Be like, hey, man, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, hey, man, you've been doing great work, man. Like, honestly, and I've really seen the efficacy. Do you know anyone else that you'd recommend that that I can at least speak to see if they'd be interested? So I'm currently looking for this, and this.
Yeah. Because it's like crazy when you
Be
hire.
savage if he steps up.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I'll leave my job to.
I think you would.
Could you imagine if he was on full time, like he was not split? Would his efficacy go up if he was one of those guys?
I think it wouldn't be enough for him.
Okay.
See, he likes it. He likes the work.
Oh, he likes the stimulus?
Yeah.
Wait, time out. You're saying that A-level guy that you're looking for,
Uh-huh.
it wouldn't even be enough work for him?
For his type of personality, I don't think.
So I'm saying that, so that means he's very competent for what you're looking for then.
In what sense?
So like, in other words, like, like you said, you need 2 A-level guys to
Yeah.
help you take
2
more off your
A-level
plate.
guys because of the 7-day a week thing.
Of course, yeah. But I'm saying that, like, one of those guys, can it be this guy?
It could be, but it wouldn't be enough stimulus for him.
So you're, in other words, he can do the job with both the A-level guys then.
But he wouldn't want to work. He probably would, but I don't think it would be 7 days. That's
Yeah.
why I want 2 is because 7 days a week.
So you'd split, flex it.
Yeah, because now he still has weekends. Like he goes, like he does stuff on the weekends. Like he,
Well,
goes out.
why can't he work 5 days a week with you?
Oh, he could. But I'm just saying, like that's why I need 2 people because of like that.
Someone to cover the weekends.
Correct, weekend holiday.
But the only reason I'm bringing this up is that, like, you mentioned that it won't be enough stimulus for him, meaning that he's capable of doing the job, the role.
Yeah.
So if 3 days or 4 days is not
I don't know if it would be a personality fit.
Oh, okay.
He'd be capable of doing it, and actually, because I think he strives more so of like
Behind the scenes.
organization, behind the scenes, like
Basically the stuff that you dread.
the stuff that I dread. Yes, he strives in that, and that's why it's a good fit for
So
me.
how can you, so have you delegated all the stuff that you dread to him?
I like all the HR stuff. Yeah,
But again,
it's
all the behind the scenes
Yeah.
organizational stuff, have you delegated 100% of that to him?
not 100%, but I'm slowly feeding him into other aspects. He likes that stuff.
Got it.
He enjoys like.
I understand.
Yeah,
I'm saying that could
sales,
also assist you as well if you can find a way to delegate 100% of the operational stuff to him.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying, and I think that could be a feasible thing because he wants to learn it, and that's really 100%. And honestly, like it's like so crazy because like it's like just seeing the utility of having this person because like the other day I'm like, okay, it's August, we're gonna be short on staff. I have 600 currently active people in my roster, and like I would go now and send emails. I usually have to because like through Gmail, I don't know if you found the loophole, but you can only send like batches of emails, like 50 at a time.
Wow.
So I would have to go draft an email and send batches of 50 to like referral bonus or whatever, bring new people in. So I'm like, hey, Gav, could you just like, can you send this? He's like, sure. And just like the utility of that's like something that would take me maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2-minute text, done. And I know it's gonna get done. That's the biggest thing is like, it's the first time I have somebody, it's awful to say this, that like, I know if I tell him to do it, he'll do it.
Yeah.
And without question, they'll get done. And like, that's the thing, most of the stuff isn't like a rush, like, I don't need this,
But it gets done immediately.
I know, but it's not like that, like, some companies are like, I need this by 5 o'clock on Friday.
He gets it done immediately.
It's like, hey, he gets it done. But it's just like a beautiful.
And does he confirm to you? No.
Yeah.
It's like, you look at it, you're like, yes, it is complete.
And that's where like he's a good fit.
Because he also gives you that peace of mind.
Oh,
it's
my
like
God.
it's like first of all, I know he's gonna crush it, and then he's gonna confirm it. It's like, oh, it's finished. I forgot I told him to do that. It's done.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not even thinking of that.
Mhm.
That's fantastic.
So that's been the biggest, and now it's like finding and like you said, utilizing him more, like
Yes.
HR. It's
More effectively,
Yeah.
he already he's already a rock star, so now it's like finding a way to stimulate him more while potentially, you have to also talk about compensation as well.
Mhm.
Figure out a way to get him more. But well, I hate to cut it short, but that was actually very interesting. I think that was the first time we've actually like let people hear like some intricacies of the business. That was like the first time I kind of opened it. But that was actually very interesting.
Yeah.
I hope you feel a little better.
Every time I talk to you, I feel better.
And there you have it, guys. You get yourself an AD, and you're like,
yeah, need AD.
I need top two.
But no, thank you for tuning in, AD. Thank you. It's a pleasure as always.
Anytime, brother. Thanks for this coffee, man.
Of course.
I ended up not drinking because I was so in.
Road coffee?
I was so 100%. Here's my shaker bottle.